We have Councilman Raleigh, Councilman Drake, Councilman Franklin. At this time, is Councilman Wilson online? Okay. And Councilman Goodwin is not here as of this time. We do have a quorum, so we can continue to conduct business. Let it be known that notice has been duly posted in accordance to the Texas Government Code, Section 551. And I think that's all I need to state about that. Councilman Franklin, would you lead us on the invocation of the pledge? Absolutely.
Heavenly Father, we are again once again, Father, saying first and foremost, thank you. Thank you for being God. Father, we come to you as humble servants. Thank you for your grace and your mercy. We say a special prayer for this city, God, for all the leaders, for all of the employees, for all of our residents, for everyone as a whole. Asking for your continued grace, your continued mercy, giving us direction, giving us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, to not only do your will, but the will of the people. So this is our prayer in the name of Jesus. Amen. 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 I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Franklin. Mr. Hartman, you want to do a presentation?
Yes.
For introduction?
I'd like to introduce y'all to our new code enforcement officer. As y'all know, we've been without a code enforcement officer for about 8 months now, and we're really lucky to have Mr. Arnold come on board with us. He's got great experience from City of Corsicana. We did get tons of applicants, but hardly anybody had experience, so we did get lucky in finding him with some really good experience. So just wanted to introduce him tonight, and hope we'll see you guys out there in the field.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, not at your house.
Not at
your neighbor's house.
Good. Glad to have you. Thank you very much. Please note the record time that Councilman Goodwin was late in arriving, but that time is 7:04 p.m.
You got my COVID computer.
Do we have anybody sign up for? All right. Excellent. So we're now at a point in our meeting that is called consent agenda. Consent agendas are items that are considered routine in nature, may have been briefed on council at previous meetings. Some things like minutes, and these are going to be items 1 through 10, and any item can be pulled from the consent vote and asked for more information, or by any city council member, myself, manager, and we can act upon those separately. Council, is there anything that needs to be further clarified for you?
No.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Councilman Drake.
Second.
Councilman Franklin. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
That's 4-0 at this point. Regular session. Item 11. Conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 21-014 of the City Council of the City of Red Oak, Texas, accepting and approving a Red Oak Public Improvement District number 1 Service and Assessment Plan and Improvement Area Number 1, assessment role for the Red Oak Public Improvement District, making a finding of a special benefit to certain property in that district, levying a special assessment against certain property within the district, and establishing a lien on such property, providing for the method of assessment and the payment of the assessments in accordance with Chapter 372, Local Government Code, as amended, providing penalties and interest on delinquent assessments, approving a reimbursement agreement, providing a severability clause, and providing an effective date. Mr. Fuller?
And this is just the next step in the whole PID process, for the property around the Oaks down here. Gloria and several of our, experts are online here too that can give you more details. But we're ready to move forward in getting that PID completed so that they can get to construction. Gloria, is there anything that you or our folks need to bring up?
I was just going to let y'all know that Kurt McDaniel with P3 Works is on with us. So if you do have any questions, he will be happy to help us out.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Platt. So, council, this is something that we've kind of been working through. I think everyone's versed on it. There were some questions that we were, and we have several items that are kind of going to be talking about that, but if there's any items, we can take it all at once now, or we can actually do each time. Was there any question that y'all need answers to? Okay. So I will entertain a motion to, it's a public hearing. Yeah, I'll entertain a motion to open that public hearing, which I'll make. We'll open that public hearing, and that time is 7:09. Is there anyone online that needs to speak on this?
I'm not seeing it.
Okay. Now I'll entertain a motion to close that public hearing. And that time is, we'll call it 7:10. And that's by Councilman Franklin to close. Councilman Drake to close. And those in favor of closing? Aye. Aye. All right, that's 7:10, we're closing. Council, did y'all think of any questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 21-014. Councilman Drake.
Second.
Councilman Brawley. Those in favor?
Aye. Aye. Aye.
That passes 4-0. Item 12, consider approval of ordinance number 21-015 of the City Council of the City of Red Oak, Texas, authorizing the issuance of the City of Red Oak, Texas Special Assessment Revenue Bonds, Series 2021, Red Oak Public Improvement District 1, Improvement Area Number 1 Project, approving and authorizing an indenture of trust, a bond purchasing agreement, a limited offering memorandum, a continuing disclosure agreement, a reimbursement agreement, and other agreements and documents in connection therewith, making findings with respect to the issuance of such bonds and providing an effective date. Anything different?
Gloria, Andre, Chris, anything y'all need to add?
So this is the item, good evening, Council and Mayor. This item is to approve the ordinance which will authorize those bonds for those special assessment revenues. And Andre from Hilltop is here, and he will present an updated plan of finance on the bond issue. Just a brief overview.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is Andre Ayala with Hilltop Securities to discuss the bond issue for the Red Oak Public Improvement District Number 1. This morning, we went to the market with the bond issue for the Area 1 of the Public Improvement District. The bonds that were offered this morning were $5,657,000 worth of Improvement Area 1 bonds. I'm trying to share my screen here. There you go. So in summary, what we have is a $5,657,000 Area 1 pit bond for the Red Oak Pit Number 1, and that would generate a portion of the funds to build public infrastructure in that area. The entire pit is for an area of the pit. I have great news to tell you that our bond underwriter, FMS Bonds, I believe they're here at the meeting, were able to offer this transaction at a bond yield of 3.47% fixed for 30 years. So it's outstanding pricing that we got on this transaction. You know, it says a lot about the city, the location, and the project. These bonds are going to be amortized for 30 years. The final payment is on September 15th of 2051. We're funding a portion of the public infrastructure for 322 lots within the Oaks development. And the payment that these parcels are going to have, and this is fixed for the entire term of the bond issue, is roughly $1,183 per year. And that does not go up or down. If their home values go up, that payment stays fixed because it is a fixed assessment. This will bring additional taxable value to the city once developed. We're looking at potentially $105 million worth of a taxable assessed valuation for the city once the project is built. We're talking about 322 lots, 50 as per the development agreement and the plans presented previously. And again, I just congratulate the financing team, your city manager, finance director, Ben, Jonathan. They've been worked with on this transaction. The underwriters did a great job. Assessment consultant, for everybody rowed in the same direction to make this a successful transaction for the city and the project. And Council, I'll take any questions you may have regarding the bond transaction.
Thank you, Mr. Andre. Council, any questions for them? So to recap, we're able to go at 3.47% interest for 30 years. One of the questions that Council has had before, what that dollar amount would be impacted to each lot, and that turns out to be $1,183, not to vary at all. So,
How many lots?
Final build out 322, but the initial is 183.
Well, this will be about 700 houses.
That used to be the Sardine City.
Pardon?
That used to be the Sardine City.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. It's 300 and something, right?
322 lots, Mayor.
There's gonna be two issuances of PID.
Okay.
So this is the first one, that's gonna cover the 322, and then the second one will cover the remainder.
Okay, yeah, so. All right, you good? All right. Council, any other questions for our Hilltop Security?
No, sir.
All right. I'll entertain a motion on this ordinance number 21-015, and I'll entertain that approval motion, please.
So moved.
All right, Councilman Goodwin.
Second.
Councilman Drake. Those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All right, that's 4-0. Item 13, consider adoption of resolution number 21-054R, directing publication of the notice of intention to issue a certificate of obligation and resolving other matters relating to the subject. Ms. Platt.
Evening again. So this is regarding the 2021 CO issue. At the special called meeting on June 1st, council expressed a desire to fund various projects and equipment with debt proceeds. And again, Andre will present a brief plan of finance regarding this bond issue. And then this is also the resolution that will authorize the publication of the notice of intent to issue these COs.
It's one of those timeframes.
This will come back to you on the August council meeting.
Okay. And it has to be posted in the newspaper 21 days or?
Yes, sir, and on our website for 45 continuous days.
But this does authorize the reimbursement resolution so that we can go forward with some of those projects before the funds actually come in and then reimburse them from the proceeds.
And that's a big key point. So, okay, council, any other questions?
Community center and some other projects we've got, right?
Right, the
Some of the
roads,
roads?
Okay.
Okay.
engine and so forth.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 21-054R. Councilman Raleigh. Councilman Franklin. Those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, that's 4-0. Has Councilman Wilson joined us at all? Okay.
Apologize
All
for
right.
interrupting, Mayor. I believe that was a roll call vote that we needed on that one.
Okay. I'm sorry. Can I just back up? Sure. All right. Okay. All right, so,
Raleigh made the motion, Mr. Franklin seconded.
seconded, and then I need a roll call with your name stating yea or nay.
Franklin, aye.
Goodwin, aye.
Great, yay.
Raleigh, aye.
All right.
Thank
Didn't
you.
change, it's still 4-0, and now we got it for record. Thank you, Ms. Platt.
Thank you.
Item 14, consider approval of ordinance number 21-016 of the City Council, City of Red Oak, Texas, approving, providing for voluntary annexation territory generally described as being 206.285 acres, more or less, out of the Gaza B. Lamar Survey, abstract 657, and the James M. Riggs Survey, abstract 902, City of Red Oak, ETJ, Ellis County, Texas, as described as Exhibit A, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein for all purposes, the City of Red Oak, Texas, extending the boundary limits of the city so as to include said property within the city limits and granting to all inhabitants and owners of said property all the rights and privileges of other citizens and binding all inhabitants by all the ordinances, acts, resolutions, and regulations of said city, providing for a service plan, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference, providing a severability clause and providing an effective date.
Mayor, if you want, you can take both these ordinances, same owner.
Okay?
Do you want me to read the second one?
Do I need to? I mean, does it need to be read?
Yeah, you have to read both of them.
Okay. Please, go ahead.
Okay, also item 15, for your consideration, both these properties, I'm sure will be explained to you if you don't already recall, are owned by, Hargrove entities and are compatible, but they don't, while they're contiguous to the city, they don't touch each other, so there's actually two ordinances. Second is consider approval of ordinance 21-017 of the City Council of the City of Red Oak, Texas, providing for the voluntary annexation territory generally described being 223.493 acres more or less out of the John Bell Survey, abstract 61, and the William H. Morse Survey, abstract 725 in the City of Red Oak, ETJ, Ellis County, Texas, as described in Exhibit A, which is attached here to and incorporated here for all purposes. City of Red Oak, Texas, extending the boundary limits of the city, so as to include said property within city limits and granting to all inhabitants and owners of said property all the rights and privileges of other citizens, binding all the inhabitants by all the ordinances, acts, resolutions, regulations of said city, providing for a service plan, which is attached here to and incorporated herein by reference, providing a severability clause, and providing an effective date. Thank you.
Thank you, council. Okay.
So as we discussed last time about this, the plan is, and we've since worked with Mr. Hargrove, that he's going to go ahead and follow through with the annexation, but we're going to do that at our next meeting, because he's going to go with the draft zoning at the same time so that he can ensure his density and so forth. We will not be approving development plans, but we will be approving density and so forth. So we'll come back at our next meeting after P&Z approves their portion of the zoning, do both the zoning and the annexation the same night.
So this is just a reading of
Right. So action is to table it?
table. Well, you don't really need to take any action tonight. You'll actually approve the ordinances at your next meeting when you approve the zoning.
Okay.
Right, so no action.
Okay. All right. Item 16, conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 21-018, approving a specific use permit in Plan Development 85, PD 85, to allow for a ground-mounted solar array as an accessory use greater than 650 square feet at 220 Stonegate Way, City of Red Oak, Texas. Case D21013, requested by Kyle
Wong.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Good evening.
He's gonna go through that, he's got all the slides.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I hope everybody can hear me okay. So for this case at 220 Stonegate Way over in Cole Manor, the applicant, Mr. Wong, would like to have a ground-mounted solar array system installed in his backyard. He has a 6.5-foot fence presently around his backyard, and they're proposing a 6-foot 1-inch tall ground array of solar panels. It's 720 square feet of total area that they're proposing. And just as a quick side note, we're bringing this forward as a specific use permit because 1, it's over 650 and you could call it an accessory structure, and 2, we don't have a specific solar systems ordinance at this time, so this seemed to be the most appropriate path to provide to Mr. Wong so he can ask for such a structure and use of the solar ground array. One thing just to show you, if you saw this in a memo, we want to avoid this, right? The general principle of most cities is they don't want to see the solar panels. And so again, we've worked with the city attorney on the draft ordinance for this SUP. Let me skip to one of the exhibits to give you some better orientation. So with his house being here, this blue grid pattern is where the ground array would be. And so you've got a street here on the left-hand side of the property and obviously across at Stonegate. The road is, this was discussed at P&Z, by the way, the road is slightly higher than grade. And again, the ground array is proposed to be 6 foot 1 inch and the current fence is 6.5 feet. So there's about a 5-inch differential there between the height of the array and the fence. So in theory, it would be hiding it from view, but we just want to be clear, like there's no guarantee no one will ever see a solar panel or some frame or edge of it. But it seems that P&Z was satisfied that every reasonable effort was made to try to minimize and hide the appearance of the solar panels and the ground array from view from the street. Also paid note to things like the septic system to make sure that the spray heads would not be spraying on the structure. Again, this is will generally be all hidden by a solid wood fence. There was no public input or feedback or concerns on the item, and P&Z voted 5-0 to approve the request. That's all I have. Take any questions.
So, thank you, Mr. Ginsel. Questions? Let's see, so this is a public hearing. Did anybody call to speak on this?
I think Mr. Fong is online.
Okay. I can't see, but, Mr. Hong, do you want to speak on this? I'll open the public hearing at, 7:27?
If you're trying to talk, you must be on mute.
Yeah, he's on mute. What is his name? Kyle.
Can you take care of that?
We can ask him to unmute, so.
We can't unmute him, yes.
Okay. Is there anybody else that wants to speak on this? Can we message him through that?
I'm doing it.
Okay. So, hello? Oh. I can't see his name or anything. So, okay, hearing nothing, I guess we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Thank you, Councilman Franklin. Councilman, Brawley, and that time is, 7:29. All right, council, any questions? So I do have a question. You know, so this is not only for that subdivision, but this is for the whole city, or is this specifically for this case?
Specific use permit only for his property. So, anytime there's an accessory structure over 650 square feet, no matter where it is in a residential area, it requires an SUP.
Yeah.
So it's gotta come before the council and commission.
Okay. And Mr. Ginsel, you brought up a good point, you know, that road is elevated. So at what angle is that pitched at? And so does that mean that the highest pitch, peak has to be below that fence? Or is it the average?
The
center
highest
line?
peak, the highest point.
Okay. All right. Because I know you'll be able to see them. I have one in my neighborhood too. That's,
Right.
so.
Right, and I mean, it may be a good time to start looking at a standalone ordinance that addresses all solar panels.
Yeah.
You guys think it's becoming a concern, or if you wanna look into it deeper, we can do a standalone ordinance that kind of addresses all these things, gets it out of the SUP process, and has a standard.
And I've already asked Brian to start looking at that.
Okay.
So that we won't have to look at each one of them individually on everything. It'll address even, attached, because we don't want, roof mounted ones
Right.
seen either.
So those processes, it's a private individual that then contracts with a company to come do that. Does that company have to come get a permit from us right now?
Yeah.
Supposed to?
Well, there's a lot of electrical that goes along with it, so there's building permits for all the electricians that have to come out and hook it up and things like that, but from a,
So we do have some,
Yeah, there's permitting, they still have to comply with the permitting to the extent that there's footers and everything, to support the solar panel.
okay,
They'd have to come in and get a building permit for that, and as Ben has alluded to, they have to come in and get electrical permit, because, once the photo, optic part of that is for some electricity to the house, and so it has to hook into the house electrical.
okay.
That has to be integrated, and that would require electricity.
Sure, and I think that's a good thing, so we're not having, because there's probably gonna be a lot more that come. I'd hate to think that we have to do that. Okay, so, we've closed that public hearing. Any other questions, council?
Yes, is the appraisal district putting a value on these yet? Is anyone aware? At one point, too early to put value.
They'll put value on it when the permit is issued, and then they'll pick up that permit, and then they'll value it based on gross, appraisal. So they'll probably have a standard that they'll affix to this.
But they are valued, they have to point out there's a value on it.
Yeah.
But I remember at one
But
point.
it'll show up as a structure, so
Okay.
they should pick it up.
And they get all of our permits, we send down to them.
Okay. Any other questions, council? Okay. Entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 21-018.
So moved.
Councilman Goodwin, Councilman Franklin, the second. Those in favor?
Aye. 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 We didn't do favor for the last one. For the record, you didn't call it. Oh, yeah, for closing the public hearing?
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir.
Can we, who made the motion to approve? Would you accept a quote-friendly amendment to close the public hearing and approve that item?
Well, I'll consider it seriously, but
Okay.
serious consideration.
And would the second accept, Mr. Goodwin's gracious, consideration of that closing and approval?
Okay. And that is closed at 7:34 now,
Yes, sir.
instead of the 7:29?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Now, revote?
No, sir, it's not necessary.
Okay.
As long as city secretary understands what happened, and I think she does.
All right, so it's 4-0. Has Councilman Wilson joined us?
Yes, there he is.
Okay. Councilman Wilson, have you been, the time is, what, 7:34, to note that Councilman Wilson joined us? Okay. All right, item 17. Conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 21-019, changing from the zoning from industrial I to highway-oriented HO to a planned development PD, providing for a list of allowable uses in identified areas. If the PD is approved, then the district standards will be determined in a subsequent amendment to the PD, generally located north of Willow Road, west of I-35, for approximately 62 acres of the 796 J. Nugent survey in the city of Red Oak, Texas, case Z 21007, requested by Mr. Zeta and Mr. Hartman, or Mr. Gensel? Okay.
Good evening again. So on this request for Mr. Zeta, hopefully everyone's familiar with the location. This would be the southwest corner of future Loop 9 and I-35 for the record. So we've certainly got TxDOT taking in some land, and what Mr. Zeta has that'll be left over is largely zoned industrial, primarily over here, with some highway oriented on the side. So he's asking that we provide him a PD with a list of allowable uses that you can see here on the side. And, you know, he needs to secure some financing. He doesn't have necessarily people that we're aware of lined up ready to ask him to build stuff or to lease or anything like that. So he's got to, put together that marketing plan, go get the financing, get people on board. So this was the city's way of trying to help that project further along by not obligating ourselves to any particular development plan, not obligating ourselves to any particular development standards, but providing some entitlements as far as at least uses may go. And so there was a list of permitted uses, and on this sheet, it refers to some other uses as being allowed by SUP, specific use permit only. I believe in the ordinance, our city attorney is advised to use the term limited uses, so that's the equivalency there. So if you saw if you're reading the ordinance draft, it said limited uses. That's what here we would call the specific uses. So again, I'm sure everyone understands with specific uses, you'd have even extra oversight. But of course, I think as the city attorney was pointing out, that for a PD, you're going to be amending it every time with the development plan or to consider any other uses. So I think he was advising on the limited use language rather than trying to be putting an SUP, which functions as an overlay every time for each of those uses. You could just simply amend the PD for that use, for that development plan that may come in for that use, if that makes sense. There's a way of, I think Bob was suggesting a way of simplifying the process. So because if you imagine, if you could have like 100 suites of businesses, and you could, you administratively, it'd be cleaner just to have a PD with amendments to keep track of all of it. At any rate, again, the main point of the exercise is to provide Mr. Zeta a list of uses to go secure financing and to market and promote the property. Again, with the draft of the ordinance, you're not obligating yourself to any development standards at this time. So with that, I don't have too much more to add. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. All right, so this is a public hearing also, and I'll open that public hearing at 7:38. Is there anybody that's online that needs to speak to this?
Yes, sir. My name is Kyle Hogue. I'm with RPS Group. We are the owner's representative this evening. We're the civil engineers that have worked on the existing or the residential piece that's currently under construction, and have worked with staff to get this portion to this point. Appreciate Brian and Ben's efforts and assistance getting us here and walking us through it. But don't have anything else to add other than we're in favor and answer any questions you might have.
We're on number 17.
Yeah, I think there might have been some confusion. Very close. That's just a coincidence. The applicant's name on the last one, I think y'all were trying to get my attention, and I didn't realize it till later. So sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah, no problem, sir. Thank you.
Mayor, can we have the representative's name again so we can get it in the record?
Will you spell your last name, Mr.
Sure.
Kyle?
Yeah, sure. No problem. My name is Kyle, Kyle Hogue, Hogue. And I'm with
Do you have an
the
address?
Yes, sir. I'm at 2777 North Stemmons Freeway in Dallas.
And you represent what?
I'm representing Camden Homes, Ted Zeta with Camden Homes.
Okay, excellent. Thanks for your help on that.
You bet.
So, anyone else online to speak to this? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close this public hearing. Councilman Franklin, Councilman Drake. Those in favor of closing this? Aye. Aye. Councilman Wilson?
Green zone, I don't see him.
Okay. All right, so that is, 4-0.
Ron, did you vote on that one?
Yep, good, okay. So that's 5-0. So that's closed at, 7:42. All right, so Mr. Gensel, is that all the pink property and the blue property, or just the pink?
The pink represents the commercial areas conceptually, and the blue represents the multifamily areas conceptually. So the two combined would be the actual area getting the zoning change.
That's the 62 acres.
Yes, sir.
All right, so is that just conceptually where those roads are gonna go, or are those set?
Well, the roads are probably a little more set, because I think they're cutting dirt for the
Right.
east-west run right now, I believe. But I guess when I say conceptually, I just kind of meant the idea that, again, we're not tying ourselves to a particular development plan. So.
The layout within the two areas, come back to.
Okay.
Say something about multi-families. And so the blue area, and that's been the plan all along, even back when they approved the piece that's in white. So you've got Harmony, out here to the west. Yeah. And then he's got his single family, in the white area right there, and that's buffered with the blue area, which is the multifamily, and then the commercial retail. Apartments. Mm-hmm. Yep.
When was that approved? When you were on council. You were too. All right. Don't worry about it. It's already been approved.
Don't worry about it, Mark.
Hey, that's how we get our density up, so we can be able to provide the number of households, the number of entities, to be able to get those restaurants and those boxed facilities in there. And that was the general plan, to keep that commercial along the interstate, buffered by higher density, buffered by multifamily. I mean by,
Buffered by multifamily and then by the single.
yeah.
That density already.
All right. Okay, any other questions, gentlemen, that you have?
Yes. I guess my first question would be, how many PDs does Red Oak have?
113-ish.
Okay. And secondly, what are the other options outside of the PD?
None. Straight, we can do straight zoning, but our straight zoning doesn't allow us to work with the developer on certain things. It ultimately ends up in a better product and because you can't, our zoning code is so hard, it's like impossible to write the zoning code that would cover every situation, right?
Right.
So utilizing a PD, while cumbersome, ultimately results in a better product for everyone, really.
And a better look at it.
Trying to follow the base zoning standards and the base subdivision regulations, which is kind of tough to make work.
And there are some areas where there is existing straight zoning, and in those areas, if the use actually fits in there, then they can go ahead and build with a building permit. But they're pretty limited. They're mostly gonna be business and HO, commercial. There's a few infill places with some residential, that has straight zoning, but it just gives P and Z and council more control and more looks at it before it gets approved.
Okay, with that. Prior to this moment, when this was approved, what was the understanding of that?
So all along, when they first presented this, the idea was just what we're looking at. They didn't have the particular business uses spelled out at that time because they were trying to get moving on the single family, residential. So they zoned that part and got the actual PD for that part and development plan, knowing that they would bring forward the rest of it in a second phase.
It also follows the general theme, of our comprehensive plan, when it talks about transect zoning, where we've got a highway, and we do a high-intensity commercial right on the highway, and we bump that with a multifamily or a townhome type product. And essentially what they've done here is the white on the page, you've got single family up to the far left, then you've got a townhome product, in the middle, and then the purple would be the multifamily, and then the right along the highway would be your higher density, high traffic commercial stuff, which is recommended by our comp plan, which is a standard planning process or standard planning layout.
Okay. And you said about 115, give or take?
CDs?
Yeah.
But I guess I'm speaking in the terms of the number, there's revisions to some of those, so, but.
Oh, yeah, I get that point, trust me.
There's a lot.
Trust me, I get that point. All right.
All right, any other council have questions? All right. So I will entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 21-019. Councilman Drake.
Second.
Councilman Franklin. Those in favor?
Aye.
Frank, aye.
Raleigh, aye.
Wilson. Aye.
Excellent. There we go, we got 5, welcome back. 5-0. Item 18, consider approving a preliminary plat for the Oaks, a residential development for approximately 211 acres out of the A. Frederick Survey, A375, the J. Chapman Survey, A214, the J.S. Davis Survey, the A923, the J.S. Patton Survey, A842, the James Patton Survey, A839, generally located south of Stevenson Road and west of I-35E, generally known as a planned development 98, PD 98, in the city of Red Oak, Texas, case P21008, requested by John Hutchins. Mr. Gensel.
Yes, Mayor. So with this case, we're still working with the applicant on finalizing the preliminary plat, and so it just wasn't ready in time. And so because the state has a 30-day shot clock when stuff is submitted, when plats are submitted, it's just prudent to go ahead and take action at this time to deny it just as a formality. The back and forth is going just fine. It's just a matter of this is a really big project, so there was a lot of comments and it just took them a long time to work with their team to get them all addressed, and so it missed the deadline to be able to bring it back in June in time. We just got their resubmittal a couple of business days ago. So we do hope that in July we will have the preliminary plat back in front of you for your action, and hopefully that action will be to approve. But this time it's just a denial out of a mere formality. This would not trigger any need to charge any fees again or anything like that. It's just making it clear that we, the city, have taken action to deny it at this time.
And this is based on new legislation out of this past session. Previously, we were able to not begin that time limit until they had a finalized product. Now the 30 days begins as soon as they send in the application. So we have to deny it if it's not complete and ready to go.
Okay. All right, so I will entertain a motion to deny plan development preliminary plat for the Oaks.
So
Okay. Councilman Brawley, and Councilman Franklin. Those in favor of denying this preliminary plat?
Franklin, aye.
good ride.
Frank, aye.
Raleigh, aye.
All right, that's 5-0 to take care of that. So So now, does their clock restart, or it has to come in July?
Yeah, they'll bring it back in July. If it's not ready in July, we'll have to deny it again.
Okay, all right, cool.
Expect it to be.
All right. Item 19, consider adoption of resolution number 21-055R, the City Council, City of Red Oak, Texas, approving the terms and conditions of a contract with Texas Bid in the amount not to exceed $426,693.96 for the reconstruction and resurfacing of a section of Stainback located in Red Oak, Texas, upon approval as to form by the city attorney and authorizing the city manager to sign.
So this is the bid of, as you remember, Commissioner Stinson was not able to do the work on Stainback. So this is hiring the contractor through their bid process. We do need to renew the interlocal agreement with them, so we'll bring that back probably at the July 7th meeting to renew it. So that's why the contingency. But that at least lets us get it on the books and have them scheduled to start moving, and then we can reimburse it out of the bond funds when they come. Staff recommends approval. Bob, do we need any other language on the motion for that?
No, because it's not with prejudice or anything.
Okay.
So, I understand what's going on, and I've got the information from the county, so.
Okay.
All right. I'll entertain that, to adopt resolution 21-055R. Councilman Goodwin. Councilman Drake. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Goodwin, aye.
Drake, aye.
Raleigh, aye.
Wilson, aye.
All right, that's 5-0. Hopefully, Mr. Keith and Mr. Moses, you'll get a new road down there. I think y'all gentlemen are still online. Wow, pretty good. So here we're at departmental reports. Chief Blanton.
Yes, sir. Mayor, Council, good evening. Just something to add to the report. I'd like to remind everybody to conserve power. I'm sure you heard today that we potentially may have some rolling blackouts this week with a lot of electrical generations being down this week. It's currently predicted if we don't conserve that we're going to outpace the production. Today, I know watching it throughout the day at the peak, we saw over 500 customers in Ellis County without power. And currently that's sitting at 58, none of which are in Red Oak. But I just want to remind you with the heat and the potential for the rolling blackouts to check on your neighbors, your family, especially the elderly as we go through that. And then I'm sure Kyle will speak more about this when Parks comes up, but just remind everyone to about the Red Oak White and Blue, July 26th, the next Saturday. Come out and join us at the Oaks and watch some fireworks. And I don't have anything else unless anyone has any questions.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Chief, you said about 58 people are in Red Oak without power?
No, sir. No one in Red Oak is without power. Currently, within all of Ellis County, there's 58 without power, but all day today, and currently there's zero people in Red Oak without power.
Okay. Do we have anything in place just in case someone in Red Oak goes without power?
We've got similar to what we did with the winter storms. We could potentially open up a facility. Obviously that's going to be very dependent on when construction gets started on the new Live Oak facility going in there. And I know churches, like in the winter storm, there was a lot of churches that opened up and things of that nature. We have placed through the county and on the state, we've placed our nursing homes, our assisted living facilities, things of that nature, all of our priority places within the city. We've placed those on the non-rolling blackout list, so they should remain, should remain priority.
Is there anything we can do to be on the proactive side versus the reactive?
We probably don't know who's going to be shut off. And we do have you know, I think they're only shut off for a short period of time, but we can probably verify that.
So if we ended up with an extended outage, you know, kind of like we did with the freeze, we would open up one of our facilities as a cooling station. But if it's a matter of a few hours here and there, unless there's somebody who has some medical reason,
Right.
which generally they are known, we don't really open anything up unless there's a real situation like that or it's an extended outage.
And everything they've advised thus far has been, it's going to be short-term, you know, hour and a half to 2 hours outages at a time to not overburden someone, you know, or one area in particular for long periods of time.
Thanks, Chief.
Yes, sir.
Chief Wolf.
Mayor, council, I don't have anything to add to the report unless you have questions. Don't have any questions.
Thank you for our medallion.
Yes, sir. Yeah. My pleasure.
All right. Mr. Hartman.
I didn't have anything to add. We met the new code enforcement officer, so, but if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer.
All right. Thank you, sir. Ms. Amanda.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I do not have anything additional to add to my report, but am available for any questions you may have.
So it's interesting, I'll bring this up, you know, and I know cities don't fall under this category, but OSHA came out with standards and interpretation last Friday. It actually is interesting because now as a private business owner, I can selectively enforce people who are vaccinated not to have to wear masks, but people who are not vaccinated to wear masks, according to OSHA. And I know municipalities are a little bit different, but it's interesting that they came out with that legal opinion on that. So, FYI, I just share that with you.
Last meeting, we were talking about that.
Yeah.
And it really wouldn't matter anyway with the governor's order.
Yeah, and that's why I say private, but
But the other interesting thing was the judge who had kicked out the hospital workers case down in Houston. Because the hospital workers, there were 177 or so that wouldn't take the vaccination, so they were sent home. Like 173 of them filed suit against the hospital, and the judge kicked it out. So I'm sure they're appealing and so on and so forth, but it was interesting that the judge did kick that out so far. Again, it doesn't help us as a municipality, but that is good to know out there.
All right, Ms. Platt.
Good evening. I just wanted to briefly add that our revenues and sales tax category still looking strong. If you notice that our collections for the month of May were up 33.3% over the same period last year. So that was great. And we're still up as we just received our collection for the month of June. We're up 8.64%. Of course, this, you know, we don't know which part of this represents stimulus spending flow, but we will definitely keep watching this revenue. And then also, we are planning our budget workshop. Karen, I think, was sending out some preliminary scheduling on that. So we'll be working on that. And then if you have any other questions, I would be happy to answer them.
What we projected sales tax? 5. We kept it flat.
We kept it flat. But we're actually doing
Budget.
much higher.
Much higher.
Yeah.
But 8.
This
current collection is 8.6%.
It has been much higher than that.
So the fiscal year to date increase is 18.12% for fiscal year to date.
And I just point out with both, because this affects both finance and HR, I know you may be aware of it from reports, but I'm very happy that we got passes on our major insurance this year, so no extra insurance costs. We just had the small amount on the the dental, but very fortunate budget-wise for next year on the health increase.
Yeah, usually they try to,
Get you for everything they can.
yeah, and I think the past, well, these 3 years, we've had an increase each time. So.
That big increase, better be looking at DC hard.
So just to kind of catch Councilman Franklin up and to remind council that when we do those budget workshops, they're outside of our regular meetings, and we try to, we think we'll meet down south again.
Yeah, we'll send that out. Karen's getting that information.
Okay.
What do you think?
And so there'll probably be two or one.
We'll probably have two. We'll have one, probably sometime in July, and then another one coming back in August before we actually approve it.
Yeah, so we have to have it worked out for the September 30th? Or
And, well, actually before that.
August 30th.
August 30th.
Yeah.
But, you know, this year, as you'll recall, with a lot of the capital projects that we just approved last month, it should be a little bit easier process, dealing more with day-to-day operations, M&O budgeting.
Where do you expect to have all that?
Not sure yet, maybe here. Maybe here.
So, yeah,
We typically do, we typically will have some.
all right. Mr. Benford, sorry.
Mayor, Council, just wanted to point out, we have started installing body scanners that will do the temperature and facial recognition in our several buildings. So that was something you guys had asked for, buildings. We added more employees this month, so we set up more computers, logins for that, so that's a good thing. Then you got your new iPads with the software, except for Ron, who wasn't here, so next month. And then we've also started installing the clients for the new financial software, Encode, on several of the computers, and we'll be doing that for a good bit of the computers around the city. Right. So that's it, unless you've got other questions.
So does that mean we'll be able to open the library then with that?
Yeah, so we're putting together a plan so that they can do kind of like what we're doing now, let people in for limited time.
Okay.
So if a family wants to come in, they can have 15, 20 minutes to come in and check things out and so on and so forth. But with it being so tiny, we're limiting masses.
Sure. So will that, Ms. Alexa will be sending that out, putting that out? Okay. When do you anticipate that?
It'll be based on the machine, so.
Yeah, we've got one installed at the field house for the workout facility. So far it's working, so we'll just kind of make sure we get all the bugs worked out of it, and then we're ready to start installing everywhere else.
Okay. Well, I'm fielding a lot of calls from people wanting the library back open, so,
Well, that's, the next one will be in this building. So
okay, that's what I wanted to hear.
I think after that, we've got the court, and then I think one other building, but I think we're still a ways out on the court anyway, so yeah, this will be the next.
Okay. Great.
Thank you, John, for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Mr. Ragsdale, does that sound great?
It sounds really good. Yes, I'm working with, thank you, Mayor and Council, for the support of the library, working with Todd and Jonathan on the plan for reopening at least by appointment. And I appreciate that people are anxious and excited, and we are too. We're ready as soon as the kiosk comes in. We're ready inside the library. Just wanted to also remind you that I will be having a summer reading program for all ages. The virtual programs begin I believe this week, and we'll also have an app called Beanstack that kids and adults and teens can join reading challenges and win prizes. And all that information will come out this week on Facebook. I'll tag Alexa to also help me out with social media. So we will have a summer reading club program, and I'd love to do some outdoor programs. I'll be at the July 4th celebration or June 26th celebration, passing out some flyers, promoting the library, and I'll try to start some shaded outdoor story times as soon as I can. I may have to do them at 6 o'clock in the morning to avoid the heat. I don't have anything else besides what I have in the report, unless there's any questions.
Questions? Anyone? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Kelly.
Council, Mayor, good evening. I just wanted to add to the report and let everybody know that we're expecting substantial completion on the baseball and softball complex by the end of this week, with the one thing in question being the monument sign up front, which may be in Friday, or if not, it'll be next week, but everything else in the facility will be fully functional, operational from the front to the back. So if I can just get that sign in, we'll be in really good shape. So there'll be a lot of activity out there tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday. And so they do anticipate finishing up on Thursday.
How many teams do you expect that early?
The tournament directors that I've talked to, like when let's say we have a 30-team tournament, that's a good gauge. They expect with each team that's coming, they're going to bring 20 to 25 people with them. So, you know, it can be a small range, or if it's a larger tournament where we go 40 over 2 days, you can expect anywhere from 1,200 to 1,500 folks to be in the community that normally wouldn't be. So, and besides that, I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware that they are personally invited to come out to the Red Oak White and Blue event on the 26th of June, coming up in about a weekend, a little over a week and a half. We'll have food trucks for anybody who would like to partake of anything while they're there, and we've got a fun area for the kids to play in the kids zone, and then we've got a lot of parking. So we're anticipating a larger crowd than normal, with people getting a little bit freed up right now from COVID. And the fact that we're having it the week before the 4th of July is a bonus, because a lot of folks will come. So with that, if anybody has any questions.
Has Station been invited to bring their food truck?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Are they?
I don't know.
So that'd be a great time for the city to be introduced to them, you know, so we hope Lee, work on that.
On it.
Oh, also, council, please come. The dunking booth is a lot of fun. So make sure you have a pair of shorts, 'cause you get a couple 15-minute dunk booth. All right. Someone said something. Was that Lee?
I might even come down to that event. Put the lawyer in there, you really won't.
All right. Bring Fox. Yeah, that's right. Mr. Williams.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I think I just want to add to the report that we expect within the next, maybe by the end of this week, that we'll have a pre-construction meeting with Raytech Services to get the site and drainage work at the Live Oak Municipal Center underway. So that's good. Once they do start, it's a 90-day contract. That's their schedule. So so the first phase will be kicking off, and that's exciting. Also, I'd like to take an opportunity to thank council for the initiative and support for the additional street work that council's approving. So it really helps us in the long run effectively provide the services to the other roadways. So that's it. Unless council has questions.
Scott, you or Todd, I think, mentioned that there's a coating or thin coating you can put over some of these roads to bring them back up. Push the.
Extends the life.
What is it?
Extends the life, the macro surfacing.
Yeah.
Is there any place in town that I can take a look at that?
Yes, actually, it's actually on three. It was actually on 342. It's actually on 342 heading east before the new turn into the Oakmont development area. Mr. Hargrove had consulted with me because it had to do with the striping that needed to be covered, and he was going to have to restripe the turning lanes and things. So based on TxDOT specifications, it couldn't be ground off, and so a microsurfacing product was approved by TxDOT, and I want to say it's probably been about 8 or 9 months ago that was put down. So that's an extreme amount of traffic, but it's when I looked at it last week, it still looks great. You can certainly tell a difference between the black top as you're driving once you get on it to once you leave it. So.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, council, any other questions for you?
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I just want to give kudos to Mr. Kelly and Mr. Williams. A couple of weeks ago, I reached out to them about basketball goals being reinstalled, and they hopped on that immediately. So it feels good to rock by now and see the kids out actually playing basketball, kind of redirect from their energy. So I just want to give them kudos for getting that done ASAP.
Over Watkins?
Yeah. So, yeah, I reached out to them, and they was on it quick. The community appreciate it.
Yeah.
That was the basketball goals at the Public Works facility.
Oh, nice.
Goals in restaurant, we just, put it back up.
Oh, okay, good. On Red Oak Road there.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so now the time is 8:13, and we will go into closed session, executive session, pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551071, 551.087, 551.072. And we'd like to thank those participants online. I think it was a good meeting, and the time is 8:13. And we need...
so we'll have council, myself, Jonathan, and Lee, and Bob, for executive session.
Bob, is your iPad, your Bob's iPad?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, Mr. Kevin. So she's still liking it? You need to talk to her. I tried to get her to put her hand in her.
And then I'll make
Oh, yeah. Anyway, we had good crowd.
And then.
She can't quit talking about anything, it's pretty good, she kind of confirmed what she wants to do.
Which ones I really need to do.
I can sign electronically, I can
Okay. Right, okay, there's council. Yep. Okay, the time is 8:50, and we will reconvene into open session. We do have an action item to, take care of, and our attorney will read what our authorization will be.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As a result of our executive session call this evening, I'd ask you to consider the following motion. Motion to reject the offer of omnibus settlement dated May 2021, draft 1.0, by and among the City of Red Oak, Red Oak Industrial Development Corporation, the Rocket Special Utility District, and to authorize the city attorney and special legal counsel to advise opposing.
Okay, I'll entertain someone approving that motion.
So moved.
Ooh. All right, Councilman Drake, and then Councilman Wilson. Thank you. Yes, that's right. All right, those in favor?
Goodwin, aye.
Drake, aye.
Raleigh, aye.
Wilson, aye.
Excellent, that's 5-0. Was there any other actions that need to be taken out of executive session? No, sir. All right.
No, sir.
Entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:51 PM.
Let's go home.
And that is, second is Franklin. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Goodwin, aye.
Drake, aye.
Raleigh, aye.
Aye.